thought they had banished us forever. But now... finally... we have returned.
Welcome to another Writer's Showcase. I am your host, Lord Captain Commander Dunn, and I'm welcoming a bunch of well-remembered newcomers. First off, let's bring in Wasia. Let me see, where is that entrance? There we go.
Yo, what's up?
Not much. Let's bring in cameraman. Thing.
Noise.
Yo.
And let's bring in Yuri.
Bleeding astronomical moron! What are you doing? I'm done. I'm broken. This thing has killed me.
That's how it was directed, my brother in Christ. That felt like, maybe you were trying to say something about how you feel about me with that one.
Oh no, that's
Wizia like that. I got really amped listening to Wizia's thing. Cameraman's I don't remember, but Wizia was like, man, I was like ready to shred. That was awesome. And then
oh no, that's your that seems to be your reaction to most things. It's not directed at you. It's what you often come off as directing it at other people.
Oh, just Shad's frustration.
Yes.
If only everybody thought exactly like me,
Mm-hmm.
Well,
I sure hope the acoustics in here aren't too annoying.
No, they're okay, buddy.
Okay.
All right. So, friends, I believe we'll go in a circle. So, Wasia, I believe, is going. Do you have any time constraints that we need to be aware of?
Nope, not
All right.
really. Not today, anyway.
Yuri, any time constraints?
No, sir. No, sir.
All right. All right. Well, then we'll go in a clockwise circle.
Okay, I was going to open up with a quick recap. Kidnapped. Rosa Esperanza Luna, or as the VGC knows her, Wasia, disappears upon the night before she reinitiates her training. The night that she met up with the Chancellor. Nobody seems to know how or where she is gone. All that Wasia, or Rosa, knows is that she is now in the custody of a shadowy phantom who claims that she is now back on Earth, a phantom who also claims to be her commanding officer. He makes a bargain with Rosa. Her life in exchange that she takes Malik's. She, of course, resists and tries to fight back, but is made painfully aware of the consequences. And now we lead over to the next day, the morning after, in Chapter 17, The Welcome Party. The silence was deafening. Malik sat with his hands folded, sweating profusely under his uniform. He dared not move a muscle, lest Haroon see it. The daylight shone through the windows of the Chancellor's office, reflecting against Vincent's crimson armor as he stood there, statuesque. Malik kept his head down, unable to look them in the eyes, the crushing weight in his heart keeping it there. He flinched, hearing Haroon speak with his cold, deliberate demeanor. I gave you a simple task. Malik felt the freezing touch of his words and began to shiver. Swallowing, he gathered the courage needed to stare into the blue, raging blizzard that was Haroon's visor. All you needed to do was watch over her, oversee her training, ensure her wants and needs were met. Yet, somehow, you lost her. Haroon leaned back in his seat, hands folded over his lap, his frigid tone bringing the room to freezing. We have excused your insubordination only because we got results. We have excused your neglecting to provide security for her only because no one expected Irene to murder her. But now, this. He paused, tapping his desk as his tone darkened. You understand the consequences, the implications. Someone as powerful and dangerous as Lucia magically disappearing in the cover of night without so much as a struggle. Under your watch. Malik's muscles locked, his body paralyzed as his eyes widened. Haroon's visor sharpened, the glow becoming brighter. I want you to provide me a reason why we shouldn't arrest you right now. Malik's eyebrows came together, his fist tightened as his pulse spiked. Think carefully, Malik, Haroon warned. Your next words can mean the difference between finding her yourself or being court-martialed faster than you can blink. Nodding, Malik analyzed his situation, scanning his mind for thoughts, and began shivering. She was the only thing that came to mind. His breathing became uneasy, and a sharp, piercing sensation erupted at his temples. Yet he finally gave his answer, his tone at its most mortified. I have nothing to say for myself. There is no explanation I can give. Lucia was my responsibility, and I failed her. He winced, realizing what he was facing. Still, he held firm and spat out his final answer. I accept my fate. I will go into custody with humility and grace. Haroon blinked and sat upright. Malik's lower lip still quivered, yet his gaze staring into Haroon's visor. Grace, the cyborg reiterated with a slight chuckle. The captain became staggered, shivering like a shaved dog in winter. Vincent, your synopsis? Malik's eyes started to the Crimson Praetor, the Grand Marshal giving him a sharp look. Well, he certainly demonstrated his commitment and loyalty. However, he paused, making Malik wait with bated breath before the Grand Marshal shook his head. No, it wouldn't make sense. He had no motive, and he's aware of the consequences. Even if he did, he wouldn't have stayed behind. Perhaps he's their fall guy, Haroon postulated. Vincent shook his head again. Unlikely. Going off the connections between Irene and Lennon and their shared contempt for him, I doubt it. Are you saying we clear him? Vincent squinted, keeping his piercing gaze on Malik. I'm saying it's implausible and an incredibly stupid move, even for him. Malik blinked, his brows furrowed together as his face reddened. Very well. I'll take him off the list. The captain deflated, the stress draining from his face. Malik's eyes darted back to Haroon, seeing him tap a list displayed over his desk. Vincent, care to fill him in on the details? The Grand Marshal stepped forward, drawing Malik's attention. As you've been made painfully aware, Lucia's gone missing. Our security footage shows no signs of a break-in, nor of a struggle. Worse yet, Dimitri's company and security in general reported nothing out of the ordinary during the night of the incident. His gaze sharpened again, a scowl forming across his face. The same night, Lennon and Irene vanished from maximum security. Malik squinted. He opened his mouth, but found himself cut off by Haroon. Fascinating, isn't it? Malik turned his attention to the Chancellor. Remind me again, Malik. You acquired both Lucia and Lennon on the same night, and thanks to your Corvenra friend. The room darkened, the lights shining dimmer. Malik's eyebrows came together, and his nostrils flared as he growled. Are you trying to suggest something? Rune looked back at Malik, his icy gaze going sub-zero. No, I was merely stating an observation. He paused, watching Malik's gaze narrow. Besides, whoever did this would have to have intimate knowledge of the building's layout and the clearance to access it in the first place. So he'll be happy to know that we've already ruled him out. Rune paused. With a sigh, Malik relaxed in his seat. However, given how smoothly this operation went, we're left to conclude one thing. We've been infiltrated, Vincent finished for him, glaring at the captain. Malik felt his heart wrench, and sweat formed across his hairline. The Grand Marshal, however, continued on. And whoever did it must have been so well organized. Which brings us to another interesting link. The manufacturer for Lennon and Irene's augments, Lazarus Cybernetica. Malik shook his head. The medical company? The Cybernetic Corporation, Haroon corrected him. As in a collection of sister companies with their own specializations, working together. Malik frowned, reclining in his seat. So, like Baba's company. Still, the Crimson Praetor continued. The fact that there were no signs of resistance is rather concerning. Sedating her is almost medically impossible, meaning we're left with just one option. She deserted, Haroon bluntly declared. He traced his gaze back to Malik, tapping his desk to pull up the projector and browsing the built-in computer. And I believe we both know where she went to. The image appeared above the table, Malik's eyes widening. I had a feeling she was a bit obsessed with that world. Finally, Haroon looked back at the captain, addressing him directly. I think you know your mission. Malik felt his heart race, staring emptily at the blue sphere. Her eyes twitched and opened, her cheek pressed against something hard and cold. Groaning, Lucia pushed off the ground, feeling something rough and scratchy rub against her soft bronze skin. She slipped a hand into her hair, the strands slipping between her fingers. What happened? Lucia wondered, blinking as her gaze darted around. Her eyes slowly widened, seeing the nearly pitch-black interior of the chamber. She could hear her own pulse, feel it pounding in her head. Her breath ran short, hysterical. No, this can't be happening. Lucia rushed to a wall, pressing her hand against it before pounding it with her fist. This isn't real. Please, this can't be happening. The metal didn't budge. Lucia's eyes swelled, and her breathing slowed and became erratic, her form trembling and shuddering. She turned around, back pressed against the wall, and slid down, sitting with her face stuffed between her knees. The overwhelming reality came crashing down on her, leaving her breathless, with a single thought passing by as her mind became blank. This is real. Lucia squinted, repeating the words to herself. Wait, this is real? Where did he say I was? The gears started turning as she scoured her mind. A spark lit within, recalling the black-haired woman. You're home. That's right, my sister. A flickering caught her eye. She lifted her head, spotting a single white light flash to life, illuminating the dark blue walls of the interior. Lucia's hands clenched, her brows pulled together as her chest became muggy, beads forming at her hairline. I need to find her. I have to. A drop of sweat ran down her face, nearly getting in her eye. What the? Why is it so hot in this thing? She growled, reaching for the scratchy off-white full-body suit. She was forced... Sorry, let me repeat that. She growled, reaching for the scratchy off-white full-body suit she was forced in, and peeled it down to her navel, the heat rushing out like steam from a boiler, and her pink necklace shining underneath the light. Mother of God, how's cooking this thing? A whirl ruptured in the room, startling her. Across the chamber, where she was a moment ago, a rack unveiled itself, revealing a gray whip blade with white accents in blue and yellow glowing blades. A frown formed on Lucia's face as a grim determination took hold. She got up and walked to the weapon, grabbing the scourge blade, gripping the flexible, leathery material of the handle. She brandished and flourished the weapon, spotting a trigger in a half basket around the handle. Lucia turned around, throwing a powerful swing as the blade unhinged into a bladed whip. She pulled the trigger, retracting the wire at blinding speed. Then her brows furrowed again. Wait, how did I know to do that? She wondered to herself, looking back at the weapon. Whatever. Malik's probably already figured out what's happened to me, and considering the Chancellor himself has interest in me in the whole resettlement program, it's only a matter of time until they find me. Just gotta hold out until they do. Lucia swallowed, an icy sensation wrapping around her neck. Just 6 months, right? You can survive for that long, can't you? She winced and grimaced. The infernal sensation coursed through her chest. Lucia trembled, her respiration erratic. I don't know. Can you? Lucia opened her eyes, feeling a knife at her throat. You can barely handle the simulations. What makes you think you can survive out here, in the real world, without Malik or Tara to coddle you like the pathetic, pampered bitch you are? Shut up, Lucia shouted, her eyes leaking. I'll make it. I won't. Won't what? Lucia's eyes widened, the air slipping from her lungs. Even after everything, after I showed you what you really are, you're still in denial. Lucia swallowed, the hairs on her neck sticking up. All right, keep up the act, Shari. You'll see soon enough. She laughed, the cold slipping away as Lucia's peripheries brightened. Her eyes wandered down to her weapon, just in time to see the dark shroud dissipate. Lucia squinted, spotting a tablet on the wall beside it. The home screen showed a short recorded message available for her. She reached for it, plucking it off the wall and playing the message. A shiver crawled down her spine. It was him. Greetings, Lucia. Dajal opened, vaguely cheerfully. This tablet contains your mission details, which shall be regularly updated, along with some side missions. Lucia squinted, scrolling through the homepage and finding a mission log. Your ultimate objective is to rendezvous with some persons of interests in Anatolia. But your immediate objective is to deploy in Inosia. Its location is provided on the nav system on this tablet. There you'll meet with a woman who will diverge further details on your first mission. Lucia swiped the tablet, pulling up the map, spotting areas of concentration marked in red in a waypoint. Oh, and one more thing. I advise you cull the local fauna, specifically the insectoid pests called out in your log. You'll need the practice. The recording ended, leaving only the loud humming of the light to fill the void. Lucia blankly stared at the screen, seeing her own reflection. Well, you heard his orders. She flinched, recalling the flashing red light in the phantom's ominous gaze. No point in disobeying him. At least, for now. She blinked, her pupils widening as it finally dawned on her. 6 months. That's how long I have until he comes. How long I have until I have to... Her face paled, her arms falling by her sides, yet gripping the weapon and tablet. My God, what am I going to do? I can't kill him. She shook her head, her lower lip quivering. There's got to be a way. There's got to be something I can do. She paused, searching her mind for solutions, unable to think of any. Whatever. I'll figure that out later. Right now, I've got to find her. Lucia swallowed, then turned around, spotting a green button blinking on the other side of the room. She scanned the room one final time and found nothing. So, she pressed it. Hissing erupted in the chamber as caution lights flashed, accompanied by a soft alarm. The bright light of day came pouring through a vertical hairline crack that gradually widened in front of her, forcing her to squint and shield her eyes as they adjusted. Beams of light struck her, hitting Lucia's form, while ancient gears creaked. Then, with a thud, the machine stopped moving. She heard distant chirping and the singing of songbirds. Lucia lifted her head, uncovering her now widening eyes. All around her were the walls of a vast canyon, with the wrecked remains of bridges and catwalks dangling off the sides of the walls, and the endless blue sky above. Arcs of electricity sparked from the severed cables as small insectoid drones crawled about, repairing them. Rubble and chunks of concrete littered the vibrant, flora-filled floor. The plant life varied in every color between purple and red, their proportions and shapes strange and alien to her, mutated with spirals, bubbles, and pockets. Lucia stood there, awestruck before, inevitably, taking her first step into the uncanny. And that'll be it. Whew.
Okay.
Hopefully the echo wasn't too bad.
No, it's okay. No, it's good.
Any thoughts on anything?
No, I thought it was very, very well written. I liked how you wrote the conflict that you're doing, and I'm definitely interested to see how things progress with this.
All right. Well, that's definitely good to hear.
There was a moment where kind of like he said he opened. I was like, that's a bit odd as an alternative of said or began.
Yeah, I suppose I could just go back and tweak one or two things. But as it is right now, I'm not touching that. I'm just simply not touching that chapter again.
Okay.
Unless, there's something just outright wrong with it.
I see. Yeah, nothing but a little grammatical stuff. I would say.
Well, yeah, that's what the editor is for.
Mm-hmm.
Yuri, cameraman, got any thoughts you would like to share?
Mostly just agree with Don. It's fine. I think it sounds pretty good so far. Might need some like the only thing I would probably suggest is similar to Don grammar stuff.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's see. What kind of issue? What kind of grammar stuff?
Well, I guess if there are grammar, since it might be easier, it's usually easier for me to notice obvious grammar stuff when I'm looking at a page.
Mm-hmm.
I hope you get what I mean.
Yeah. Let's see. Any thoughts on the descriptiveness, particularly the canyon that she's about to walk through for the rest of the chapter? Because I read only half the thing. I just knew that was an excellent point to cut off and come back to later.
I didn't really notice that bit particularly. I more was just noticing kind of the Faustian deal type thing. Was the main thing I noticed.
Yeah. I mean, this chapter does take place immediately after the previous one, which is why all that information still is being either reiterated or it's being emphasized, and I'm trying to depict her reaction the next day to having gone through that experience. So, in that case, I guess the next question would be, how's the characterization?
Overall, I thought the characterization was pretty good thus far.
All right.
I can tell a bit about the characters from the dialogue and how you've presented them.
Yeah, cut out.
Sorry, yeah,
Lots of freezing and eyebrows doing weird things.
Oh, sorry, yeah. So when you did a good job at presenting them, presenting who they are as people.
Yeah. Actually, to get back onto what Valerian just said, I do actually agree with some of that. I feel like some of the descriptions was a bit redundant, which
yeah, maybe.
Yeah. I don't exactly have the most extensive list in the world, and frankly, there's a fairly narrow selection of expressions that's being portrayed over here. Like, some characters are I'm trying to portray characters looking confused, or characters feeling a little upset or suspicious. Like, sometimes the one character will say something to another, and like, what do you mean by that? And things of that nature. But also, of course, I'm trying to depict characters coming to realizations as well. So, yeah. Hold on.
Okay. Hello? I think it's Cameraman's turn.
I'll actually want to go later a bit.
Okay. Alright, Yuri, you're up then.
Alrighty then. Let's see. So last time I decided I was gonna do my space thing and like just start it kind of in the middle and like try and just so you guys see how it kind of goes. Yeah, so here in this one, like chapter 2, let's see. Okay, I don't remember what I read last time, but we're going to go with chapter 2. This is chapter 2. This is section 8. It's called The Forking Road Between. And like basically the main character Ramadupa just kind of like went spiritually into the future, and now he's getting like sort of snapped back into his body. And then like kind of the idea is that he's getting drawn into the future and snapping back. He has no control over it. That's what I'm trying to develop, but we'll see how that goes. So, hi, this is my first post up here. I do the characteristic first video pause here on YouTube. I wrote out what I was going to say, actually, then I memorized it. This wasn't part of that. This is only the second time I am watching this take of the recording. I didn't catch any glaring errors the first time. This time might be all right, too. Even though this opening is a bit silly, it has a nice humble aspect to it, which should help. I'm here to make a prophecy. I know. A dramatic pause and then a final definitive repetition. I know. We have enough of those. Don't even know which one to believe. I left out the word we in that sentence. But I think it was understood, and it flows better this way, actually. Well, I've actually been to the future. It's not important how. Actually, it's not even really important that you believe that. The last sentence was a nice ad-lib. What matters, as with all prophecies that matter, is that you listen and doubt. Doubt is a biggie here. I'm asking that you disbelieve me. Off script, but it's more natural like that. The poles are going to flip on the solstice this year. Don't ask me why. It has something to do with the galactic equator, but I don't really know anything. I'm not a geologist. Actually, it will take a little while for anyone to notice this has happened. None of this will be sudden. It will be creeping slow. The point is that by the end of this winter, the Earth's tilt is going to increase by a good degree or two. Geologists will make mention of it, and you'll hear about it in passing, but it won't really make the news. The days won't get longer towards the equinox quite as expected, but no one will really notice anything wrong, except that there's going to be a massive seismic activity. California's quakes will seem just a little rough at first, but the shelf is going to split, and finally O'Reilly will have his wish, and San Francisco won't be part of the U.S. anymore. Neither will San Diego, L.A., or Sacramento. It will be separated first by a sizable canyon, then swallowed by the sea, and a lot of people are going to die. New York is going to disappear under the Atlantic, too, and we'll have glaciers forming on the new points of perpetual night at the new North and South Poles. This was off script. It makes the video a little confusing, but this is my fifth take. How many am I going to make? I have to connect back to the earthquake thing to get back on script. There's going to be a lot of earthquakes and volcanoes in the coming years. This is because the crust of the earth is going to be trying to right itself. It needs to be moving the other way to match the poles. It can't just suddenly flip or spin in the opposite direction. It needs to roll. So that extra tilt, it's going to add up faster and faster. And the day to night turn of the earth is going to slow down every day for 12 years. It will take 23 for the whole earth to finally right itself. 23 years of absolute havoc. Then another couple of decades for adjustment. The good news is that the UN will step in. They'll get the best scientists all organized to smooth out the massive shifts in the weather, set up plans for evacuations and seasonal migrations, and space development will be huge. Actually, there's plans already in the works for all of this, but I'm not going to make this one of those videos. I'm just telling you so you'll be warned. The good news is that not everyone is going to die. Mostly only infants and the very old. It's going to be hell, but at least we won't go the way of the pyramid builders. We won't fade back in the simplistic Luddite barbarism. Too many big and esoteric words. I'm never going to make it as a prophet to the masses. We won't blame our sins for the processes of nature. A lot of countries are going to send people to Mars, where the upheaval will be decidedly less intense. Venus is going to get hit by a massive stray planetoid, which will strip a lot of her atmosphere away, set her spinning again, and it will become a moon. Then Venus will become a target of colonization. She's extremely rich in potential energy, and she'll stabilize her rotation a lot faster than the Earth and Mars. Additionally, when things get really bad, the NSF will finally bring out Stanley Meyer's inventions and give them the Ford to produce, so that oil dependency will be over and done with, and we'll all have flying cars with only dry oxygen and depleted hydrogen as the waste product. The smog of industrial society is going to get a swift kick. Then we'll just have to worry about plastic residue and the chlorine and fluoride in the water, and the fact that women's birth control hormones don't get filtered out in treatments. Not really that big a deal. We'll adjust. There will be higher levels of oxygen, though, so bugs are going to be able to get a bit bigger. There's a knocking on my door. I've still got about 3 minutes left here. Part of me becomes angry. Another part laughs at that part. I'm being compulsive. People will think more clearly and be generally healthier. The door opens. Rum, Qigong. It's Solomon. Morning yoga I can let pass. You were a mess. I remember him shaking me, my eyes opening dumbly and being paralyzed for the next hour. That makes it all the more important to work on your chi now and get some more food in you. He'd brought me a pearly white coconut and a banana after I missed breakfast. The peel and shell are still sitting on the desk. I feel the jitters of overconcentration, of obsessive focus. I need to get away from the computer. Okay. I post the video. I'm sure it's fine. Let's see. So that, I'll do the next section. No. 9. I am dreaming. How do I know? Because I am not me. If I was me, I would not be at the helm of a pirate ship, relishing the smell of cedar. I would not be watching a sea of red swelling up in my face. I would not be familiar with the black dot settling Mars. If I were not dreaming, I would not know I was looking down on Mars. If I were not dreaming, I would know how I got here. And there's a wall between me and memory. Definitely a dream. Show me the station. A voice says from my mouth before my eyes in the next port of call. The Gulmung station. Okay, begin deceleration if you haven't already. The skipper probably has. It's the size of a small moon. I take pleasure in the rough feel of the tiller. I move it back and forth, and the station moves from one side of the window to the other. There's no feel of movement either way, but I know I'm moving the ship, not the screen, without even having to think about it. My mind is on the bag of dust on my desk. Ramadupa, Qigong. I sit up. Where's Solomon doing? What's Solomon doing in UN 529? Oh, there's my sleeping mat right under me. I'm back home. Was it a dream? Can't seem to focus. Kneeling. Elbows dropped, hands up towards my chest. My mind keeps drawing back to the future. What's Mars like? The settlements, so many settlements. And there was some plan the captain has to do something, some plan to do something. That's not helpful. It's not even meaningful. The beach is lovely this morning. The red sand so peaceful. I think I'm just going to go back to my room, have a pomegranate, and do some meditation, I say as we're leaving the beach. I learned my first time here to always eat pomegranates naked. Otherwise, you end up with stained clothes. Also, never walk around naked. All right, Paul Solomon says. Rama, the next time you're planning on leaving your body behind and sinking into the quicksands of time, could you let me know first? Your aura's all over the place now. I'm a touch worried. I'm touched. No worries, Saul. Eyes closed, breathe in, breathe out, of its own accord, just follow it. Feel the bump of my rump on the floor and the thump of the blood running through it. Welcome to the hidden show. There are enough rivers of blood in my body to circle the globe. Enough nerves to stretch a rope to the moon. Feel them, one and all at a time. Follow the breath. My eyes open. I feel my home pulling at me. The hexagram over my heart burns red. Blood Father Mars sings to me. I am on my feet. These feet will move naked through his skin soon. I will be home. I hold the hilt I made of a dead brother's femur. The sword dances in my hands through the heads, necks, arms, and legs of men. These men are not living. The computer brought them here. They turn to dust when disemboweled. Real men leave bodies, have souls. Bodies to use, souls to incorporate. A worthy man's heart tastes of angels. A worthless adversary's body is pure bile. Never kill the unworthy unnecessarily. Their bodies are poor soil for the ambrosia. One day, I will be eaten and become part of another man's strength. My blood and bone will ink his skin. What? I opened my eyes. Who in every holy name was that? From the top of the arch, I watched the river pass by under me, trying to drop the memory of the taste of blood, of human flesh into it. How did that get into my mind? Sick in every cell. I tossed my third lemon in. What have I done to myself? Am I insane? What would my mother say? God, I've looked at 5 people now and weighed them up to see if beneath their skin they were worthy of being eaten. The wind blows through my hair and I consider jumping in. It wouldn't kill me. The drowning would. I drop the last lemon in and watch it splash. The lemon tree is very pretty, and the lemon flower is sweet. But the fruit of the poor lemon is impossible. Dupes! I turn slightly and bend my hand up from the cement railing to a half-hearted wave at Billy the Kid. Man, you look like Collie's been doing her job. He's always shouting. I show him my teeth meekly. It's time for chai. I'm late. You're late. We're all late for a very important date. What are you doing here still? He grabs me by the arm. Come on. The point of Collie is to let go. Then's bliss. If I don't go, I'm going to fall. For a little guy, he's got some force. I'm passing through some veils here, Billy. Think I can't see that? That's why we're going to get some chai. And yogurt. Owie ow. He says it like Solomon would. Then he almost knocks an old lady back down to the bottom of the stairs, but I counterbalance instinctively to keep this from happening. Shiva Krishnan has 3 omelets, a big bowl of rice, and a slice of bread thick with butter on the vinyl table in front of him. He will probably have a piece of cake after this. My only problem with this country, he speaks slowly, is the lack of decent cheese. Does paneer even count as cheese? I don't know about that. I mouth down a bit of the rather tasty mush you get for free on the Indian side. There's a place right across from Ramanashram where you can buy the best cheese in the world. He looks at me as though I would lie. The best cheese in the world? In India? God's honest truth. They make it in Oroville. Also, they have monkeys up there all over the place. Monkeys don't appreciate good cheese, I lament. Solomon sits down and holds his hands over his food. If only Amma lived up in Tamil Nadu. Solomon finishes his prayers, or whatever everyone's doing when they do that thing with their hands and the food. Amma lives everywhere. You should have some notion how that is. The falcon, out of nowhere, grabs Shiva Krishnan's buttery bread and is gone before he can punch the air where it was. It lets out a shriek I can only interpret as a laugh. Shiva Krishnan is crestfallen. Om Namah Shivaya. You don't need the cholesterol anyway, Solomon muses. Shiva Krishnan forces himself into a semblance of relaxation. Maybe that winged devil will get a heart attack and I can finally have some meat in this barbaric place. You know that cholesterol thing's a myth. Totally unsubstantiated. I yawn, my eyes closing involuntarily. Time for bed, folks. Good night. Om Namah Shivaya. Thank you, Mudan. Mikola will be prepared within the day. It is very fortunate the UN sent its fleet. I think it can be said we owe them for that. I part my lips with the joke. Please, stay in peace. The woman's face flicks out from in front of me. I would very much like to have seen this counter-terrorism force taken down. To my pleased near surprise, I do. 8 ships, a battle star, a carrier, 4 destroyers, and 2 cruisers blink into existence over my desk. They're looming over the Sejong region. That's not a good place to loom. Don't they know there's terrorists there? My thoughts are half sardonic, half ironic. Those who reap the wind shall reap the whirlwind. The hot-colored explosion begins in a carrier like the opening of the Belisarian rose. I miss my home. It goes on to swallow first the battle star, and by then, it might as well be an act of God, a big bang. Half the fleet is completely gone when the light fades. The other half falls in pieces to the bloody surface below. Well done, Skipper. How did you get this? The Discordians took it from the Dymo station a few milliseconds before the Mars Authority deleted it. It was not hard to find. Of course, the UN will just call it a simulation. I lift my head in exultation. I miss Belisarius Hanuman. Get me back there. Okay, and that's middle of the story, and I actually really enjoyed that. I forgot about writing all of it. It's very old. What everybody think?
Okay. I don't fully understand what the plot is necessarily. I get a sense of the characters being very philosophical. There's a lot of dramatization going on, but I have no idea what the conflict is, to be perfectly honest.
No, that's fair. I mean, I just dropped. I like I guess like the conflict is like hard to find. It's like there's more like there's just things that happen and then other things happen. Like I definitely need to work on inserting conflict.
Okay. Well, I'm just wondering what the plot is.
So like there's kind of, it's like for this like this story, there's kind of like a what do you call it? Like the Maltese Falcon, like there's like a get for, or what do you call it? There's a word for it. MacGuffin. Yeah, it's like there's this kind of MacGuffin, like the Chakra Samadhi, which is at the top of this of Olympus Mons, and like this kind of like. So Mars has all these settlements. It's more about the environment. It's more about trying to like, extrapolate rules. It's like the way that like C.S. Lewis wrote a space trilogy, and that's a major inspiration for this, right? Like the idea is to try and like create a space science fiction thing that includes like all of the spiritual traditions, and so like it's like heavily Indian. And like I came up with this story when I was like 14, and then like I kind of wrote this version is like from when I was like 20. It's like 10 years ago. It was like more than 10. But the idea is like that it's hard to say. It's like it's really hard for me to say what the conflict might be. Like it's hard to really put a. Like there's a few different conflicts. It's like there's the wider universe, and then like we don't really know what's going on, right? Like the idea is like like this chapter, like he keeps bouncing back and forth between the present and the future, and like the conflict is that like is him finding kind of stability in that, I think, or like that's the conflict at this point. But eventually they just go after this MacGuffin, and like it gets weird. I'm looking forward to like just reading to you guys, and then you can maybe. Like, I'm not very good at just defining what a conflict would be inside of the story. You know that Satan is the spirit of contention, so I'm not really big on.
I don't necessarily know how Satan being the spirit of contention has anything to do with it, but okay.
Avoiding conflicts. I was just being silly.
Fair enough. Okay, I guess like. What's the hook? Why should anybody read your book? Is my question. What exactly are you like promising at the start of your book?
It describes the future.
Sorry about that, guys.
Describes the future.
Yeah, like the idea is like what like I was excited about when constructing the universe was finding a way to make astrology real, right? So Mars is this place of like a lot of decentralization. Like each settlement is like its own world, and then there's like they're at war with all the other settlements, and it's like always at war. Whereas Venus, there's like all kinds of genetic engineering going on, and like like all kinds of like you know, like, so it's like you've got those, and then the moon is where they keep all the crazy people. Like everybody crazy goes to the moon. So it's like this sort of I don't know. I had cool ideas, and I was having trouble coming up with a story.
Yeah,
Like when it
just go
comes
and
to,
clean up what you can.
What's that?
I'm just like,
On.
I'm just wondering, like, what's really there for people to be invested in is my question.
Like, I guess the
I feel
character is supposed to be investable, but I guess he's also like he's basically me at my most prickish, so that's kind of a drawback. But then like I'm also playing with the person, you know, like so it's like there's a first person omniscient view from all of these different characters' eyes, because like he gets turned into a dust ball, and then like everybody breathes him in by accident because there's like this bug in the previous scene before this chapter, like there's this bug that like is in the room, and then one of the characters named Abel Kane like shoots the bug and it zaps this cloud of dust that he was, and everybody breathes him in, and so he's got like he goes and he dreams and he's like seeing through all their eyes. I think it's just like wacky mysticism was supposed to be the draw, but I guess I need to figure out a better story. There is an arc to this story, and I think like reading it with you guys is going to help me figure out how to like start writing it again 12 years later and actually do a better job.
Well, sorry if I don't have much to contribute. Unfortunately, it's also a little busy over here.
No worries.
That's all right. Like I my little doggy came while you were reading, and like I had to go and take care of him, and so I missed most of your story, and that's why I didn't have anything to say, because it was like, shoot, I came in like the words sound good, but I was just out of my element. So like it's fair that you didn't hear mine either.
I mean, to be fair, I'm also trying to help. Apparently, somebody just dropped something on me in the middle of all this. So, no, I'm not giving you freaking jelly beans. Piss off.
Spicy.
Bloody kids.
Dirty commie kids.
Also, yeah, I left a few more questions in the chat, but unfortunately, I don't think anybody read it. So we'll just have to barrel along, move forward, I guess.
What you ask? You left questions in the chat in here. Wait,
Yes,
you're not Valerian.
in the
Are you
chat.
Valerian? You're not. Wizzy and Valerian are separate.
No, I'm not Balerian.
Because Valerian's like all over the place in here. You said you dropped something in the chat. You meant
So it was in the private chat.
Oh, any thoughts on the plots developing?
Which, a bit late for that.
I'd say it's going forward pretty well.
Yeah. Let's see. So, from what I can gather, Yuri, yours starts off with a guy saying that he was going to predict some shit.
Accurate.
And was that it?
Well, basically, so like this is chapter 2. So like he predicts some stuff, like like basically goes through like kind of an apocalyptic warning, and then there's also little bits where you get flashes of characters in the future, because he's now like an omniscient narrator, because they breathed in the dust that had his spirit kind of commingled with it.
Yeah, okay. I need to hear that first chapter, my dude. That sounds like.
I'll send it to you.
Trip.
Yeah.
All right. That's pretty cool.
You're Wizzy on the Discord as well, right?
Yeah.
All right.
Yes.
All right. Sorry, I recognize you. I'm just like somewhat, hard.
Also, Balerian. Yes, that's kind of the point,
Yeah.
and I mean that in the literal sense.
Yeah, no, Valerian's a totally different dude. I didn't mean to insult you. I was just like, wait a second. My brain's not working. I got up at 4 this morning, and I've been kind of like manic, so like.
No, don't worry too much about it.
Let's see.
Okay, well, hopefully all hands are going to be on deck for Mr. Cameraman.
Yes. Only mildly divided attention.
Okay, so what I mainly did is I decided to edit a chapter that I present, a piece that I presented last session because it wasn't really that good. So I mostly just rewrote portions of it.
Okay.
I hope you don't mind.
No, you're good.
Go for it.
So here's that. So what do you guys remember do you want me to read it from where I started it last time, or?
Wherever you feel, it's up to you.
If I remember correctly, you're presenting a narrative about a guy who's isolated in the middle of space. There's the supposed space station that's supposed to be like humanity's last bastion of hope. Nearby the final star in the universe, he's like, "Yeah, this is a load of bullshit," and then he finds it,
Yeah.
or rather, they find him.
Yeah, they find. Yeah. Okay.
All right.
So I'll read it from, I guess, where. Okay, so journal entry, day 85 of exploration. I haven't written new entries in days, but quite frankly, I have nothing else to say. Day 86, still waiting to be found by whoever sent that message. I doubt it's from Starfall, but it has to be from something. No new star updates, everything is still dead. Day 87, still nothing to report. Day 88, still nothing. Day 89, still nothing. Day 90, still nothing. Day 90, still. Day 91, nothing. Day 92, still. Day 93, nothing. I've begun to write less and less. It's hard to report. Day 98. I've got out of bed for the first time in 4 days. All I've done is sit in bed and listen to music. My food printer broke down and my oven is still on the fritz. I haven't eaten in so long. The only thing I can do is sleep, which even has its own problems. Sleep is borderline impossible on a ship with no gravity. I've had to tie myself to the bed in order to get something resembling a good night's sleep. I sometimes wish I was able to stop floating and put my feet on the ground. Day 99. The only thing to keep me right in front of my mind is music, a little gift I got from Jacob. As I'm writing this, the current song is 4 guys singing about the sun. I can't tell if this is an irony or a coincidence. Can't exactly pin down their accents, but it sounds like something from Europe, a country that no longer even exists. Time for bed. Again, nothing to report. Day 100. Well, it was only inevitable. I came across a ship out in space, and not too long afterwards I received a call from its messengers. These were the same people who sent me those prior messages, and we chatted. I began the conversation with a simple question. Okay, first things first, who the hell are you? His voice was rapid, almost sounding like he had a pre-written script, complete with a higher voice, implying he was younger than me. My name is Isaac Ashman, captain of the Starlight Voyager. I know you're confused. Look, I know you're confused, but if you read our prior message, you already know who I am. I read it, but I don't buy it, kid. I suspected you wouldn't trust us. You seem pretty prepared for this. Well, that's my job. I see. Even before becoming an explorer, I've been able to smell lies, whether it be from bullies me and Jack would face at school, me and Jacob would face at school, or criminals I would encounter during my travels. How do I know you're from Starfall? I understand trust can be difficult in times like this, but I think I have a compromise we can come to. Curious, I decided to entertain this idea. Enlighten me. Well, we'll let you hold on to your gun, and in return, we'll give up all of our guns. Nobody will get hurt, and you'll have all the power. I thought a bit. This could be a trap, and there would be some kind of consequence for me, but still, if these guys are raiders, it would seem strange for them to surrender their weapons. The captain spoke me on my thoughts. So, do you have an answer? And to my better judgment, my response was, yes. I can smell a trap, so just in case anything happens, I'll be holding a pocket knife. Nobody will be willing to tell strangers out in the void. Most of the people I've come across are willing to kill, steal, and betray each other. If I don't continue writing in this journal, I'll be dead. Day 101 of exploration. After parking my ship right next to theirs, I got into my spacesuit, resistant to both extreme heats and colds. I stepped through my door and floated over to them. Their door opened quickly, and I entered almost instantly, noticing their ship's lack of gravity. As I removed my helmet, I was greeted by the crew, more specifically Ashman. He's a few years younger than me, yet there's still weariness in his eyes. Wait 1 second.
While we're waiting for cameraman, let's bring in Valerian.
Sorry, I'm walking my dog. So I'm just reading as I'm walking my dog. Hi.
Sorry.
Yeah, so
Just decided to bring Valerian while we had a little bit of a break.
Evening.
yes. Yeah, so I was just reading as I was walking my dog.
Okay.
Oh,
So let me just
okay.
let me just pull up my.
And I remember this story now.
1 second. Sorry that's taking too long.
No worries. Take your time. It's not that it's taking too long. We just thought I'd take advantage of the pause. Go for it.
No. Hey, Coco. Can you guys hear me?
Loud and clear.
Okay. After parking my ship right next to theirs, I got into my spacesuit, resistant to both extreme heats and colds, stepped through my door, and floated over to them. The door opened quickly, and I entered almost instantly, noticing their ship's lack of gravity. As I removed my helmet, I was greeted by the crew, and more specifically, Ashman. He's a few years younger than me, yet there's something in his eyes that suggests he's hiding something. Have to check later. The ship itself is unlike anything I've ever seen before, with advanced technology and an air of mystery that hangs in every corridor. Welcome to our Voyager. Hope you have a pleasant stay. Cut the crap. Make sure to remember the deal. He paused, and soon responded as quickly as he could. Ah, yes, I remember. He turned over to his men, 5 of them present at the time, and gave them a clear order. Men, throw your weapons out the airlock. His men were visibly confused. Can you guys still hear me?
Yep.
Yep.
Hey, what's the matter?
Nothing.
What?
Note to self: do not present a chapter while walking the dog.
Agreed.
Then again, it's a good thing I don't have a dog to begin with.
Still there?
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, I was also just sorry about that.
Don't worry too much about it.
So let me just continue reading that story from before. Men, throw your weapons out the airlock. His men were visibly confused, and even one of them, a very old teen, thought of questioning him. But soon an older man placed his hand on his shoulder, advising him to not follow the captain's orders. Following this, I was guided to my quarters and left there for the rest of the night. I continue updating things as time goes on. Day 101. After time and space, I was given food and water courtesy of the captain. Ever since boarding the ship, I've been given a shocking amount of freedom and autonomy. Even though the sleeping quarters for each passenger are the size of a phone booth, a piece of cramped communication technology from ancient times, each passenger drinks a special medicine to keep themselves asleep in microgravity. I wish myself a good night's rest. Day 102, Part 1. Waking up, I expected my door to be locked, but to my surprise, it opened easily. I've been granted a permission to go wherever I want on the ship. I still don't trust them, since they could just easily be trying to gain my trust. But it's interesting to see the captain trust me that much. I slept in pretty late and got up just now. Right in time for food. At breakfast today, at day 102, part 2, at breakfast today, I talked a bit to some of the crew members, and they didn't seem like the criminal types. Despite the captain trusting me, none of the crew members seemed to trust me at all. I guess they were only helping me because of the captain's order. The feeling was mutual. None of them gave me their ages, names, or service history, unlike the captain who gave me his name without even knowing me. I noticed that the crew was a tight-knit group. Despite their skepticism about letting me on the ship, they obeyed Ashman's orders and were willing to give me accommodations on his behalf. If these are criminals, then they're pretty bad at their job. 102, Part 3. I continued talking among the crew, this time the pilot, who still wouldn't tell me his name. He discussed his opinions on Starfall. No one has ever met the founder, and nobody has really understood her intentions. All he and the others seemed to know was her name, but when he was about to mention her name, another crew member coughed, signaling him to shut up. He quickly continued his duty flying the ship, not even acknowledging my presence. That's all to report for now. 102, Part 4. I just finished lunch with the rest of the crew. Most people, especially Jacob, would call me paranoid. I can already picture what he'd say right now. Oh, I still can't believe your luck. On a mission to you from the void, you found the place that could very much help the Union survive. Obviously, despite being my friend, he was always dead wrong about that. I've learned to be wary of everyone, especially in this part of the void. I've always been annoyed that Jacob couldn't see that. He was always so excited to travel the universe and meet new people, unwise to the fact that those new people would almost certainly rob and or kill him. I hope when I get back, he'll have grown up a bit as a person. 102, Part 5. I found something strange a few minutes ago. When the alarm signaling dinner went off, I slowly walked over to the dining hall, wanting to analyze every corner and crevice of the ship. As I wandered through the dimly lit hallways, I stumbled upon a peculiar sight, an old rusted door tucked away in a forgotten corner. It seemed out of place, contrasting the sleek and advanced technology one would expect from a colony as renowned as Starfall. Curiosity got the better of me, and I couldn't resist the urge to explore further. As I stood there contemplating whether to pry open the door, a voice jolted from my thoughts. "Hey, Starboy!" The voice echoed from behind me. I turned around to find an old man, one of the ship's engineers, staring at me with a mixture of caution and weariness. The engineer's words were stern and laced with a warning that suggested danger lurked beyond the door. I can't help but wonder what secrets this ship held, and why the crew seemed so intent on keeping me away from it. Even as I'm eating dinner now, I can already sense dozens of eyes on me. In the days to come, I will continue my exploration, seeking answers and uncovering what this vessel could be hiding. The journey ahead is uncertain, but my curiosity might just get the better of me. However, I must proceed with caution, mindful of whatever could be lurking in the corner. There's more to this ship than meets the eye, and I'm determined to uncover its truth. It's been a few day 103. Day 105. It's been a few days since I came aboard the ship, and it's becoming increasingly harder to investigate further. Because they won't keep their eyes off me. Little do they know, keeping a secret only increases the desire to find a secret. Day 106. What could they be hiding? What could they be hiding? Maybe it's a stash of weapons or some stolen goods. Day 108. I don't know why I came to this conclusion, but it was the only way I could learn the truth. I stood before Captain Ashman's quarters, knocking exactly 3 times, 1 in the middle and 2 at the beginning and end. Ashman opened the door, wearing a mask of confusion at my presence in front of him at this time of day. Or is it night? Nobody knows. After an awkward pause, he finally broke the silence. Silva, do you need anything? Why do you care? I thought to myself. I responded without a hint of suspicion or paranoia. Captain Ashman, may I have a moment of your time? Well, sure thing. What's on your mind? I'd like to discuss this privately, if you don't mind, of course. With narrowed eyes, he grabbed me and pulled me into his room. Similar to all the other rooms, including mine, there was 1 bed, 1 desk, and 1 window. He spoke up. Okay, what do you need? I wanted to talk about Starfall. The more time I spend on this ship, the more questions arise. It's clear there's something going on. It's something the crew is hesitant to. You're observant, Silva. Starfall isn't what it used to be, that's for sure. It's not like the glossy image they paint in the official reports. I've been guessing that, but what specifically is happening? Why the secrecy? Look, you stumbled upon our ship, and I can tell you're a curious person, but you have to understand that the crew and I have our reasons for keeping things close to ourselves. Starfall is a dangerous place, and not everyone can be trusted. We've learned that the hard way. Finally, someone who gets it. I appreciate your concern for my safety, but I can't help but wonder what you're keeping from me. Look, I just need to know the truth. I can't blame you for... Ashman paused for a moment before responding. I can't blame you for wanting answers. Just be careful, Silva. Starfall has a way of consuming people, dragging them into its depths. If you're going to dig deeper, until he almost reminded me a bit of myself. I understand the risks. I can't turn a blind eye. There's nothing wrong with Star. Wait, 1 second. I understand. I know that there's something wrong with Starfall, and I need to uncover it for my own sake and for those who might be there. You got determination, Silva. I'll give you that. Just remember that knowledge comes with a price. Be prepared for what you might discover. I will. Thank you, Captain, for sharing what you could. You're welcome, Silva. Now, let's get ready for work. We have a long day ahead of us tomorrow. We both exchanged a nod, acknowledging an understanding we both shared. We shared. I'm gonna have to take a break from journal entries for now before I uncover anything big. Signing off.
Oh, that
That's
was a...
I like the characterization going on there.
What?
I like the characterization of your main character for sure.
What do you say? I think you cut out a bit.
I like the characterization of the main character, as well as the fact that this is clearly a very, very unreliable narrator going on here.
Yeah, I guess I'm mostly using the whole journal entry thing to intentionally sort of write an unreliable narrator type character.
Interesting.
Since I know first person is unpopular, or not unpopular, just has its issues.
I wouldn't exactly say that.
What?
I wouldn't exactly say that first person has its issues.
It's not I guess it's not as detailed as, say, third person.
I mean, I suppose, but it has its limitations and also has its advantages. It's a more matter of just knowing how to make best use of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it fits some circumstances better than others. In this case, you've got an unreliable narrator, like you said, so it helps with that.
Yeah, you
Huckleberry
can
Finn,
definitely.
it helps because he's presenting the whole story to a somewhat naive, ignorant young chap. So there's a clash between what the author knows and what the narrator knows. So
It also feels like an element of this guy is very much a he's divorced from reality.
How so?
Well, it just seems like he's got a particular perspective that isn't necessarily in line with reality. He just
So
seems,
Yeah.
it seems more like he is highly cynical and very
Yeah.
paranoid.
Yeah, that's sort of that's the like and so like the whole point is that like the plot is about him looking for his missing best friend, whereas his best friend was sort of the opposite. He was like a very optimistic kind of guy.
Yeah, because I remember that from the previous chapter that this guy very much just. There's also a lot of noise in the background over there. Like I'm just hearing it. Oh, okay. So
it's actually
what I
part of
remember
the story.
very funny.
Sorry.
So I was just saying from before. Yeah. So I actually remember from the previous chapter that you presented, cameraman, that you presented this guy as extremely cynical, as not believing in anything, believing that everything is screwed, and I think you carried that over pretty well into this chapter, including the encounter with the kid. I actually think that the fact that it's like this younger guy who he's meeting up with kind of clashes his character against these Starfall people quite nicely and succinctly. There's also a pretty good amount of mystery going on, and a pretty good amount of intrigue going on with that rusted door in the middle of the starship that nobody's allowed to go through. I mean, it is a little cliched. I will be forthcoming with that, but at the same time, again, it provides intrigue and it gives more depth to it rather than just having Starfall be the utopia. There is a dirty underbelly that's being tucked away and only mentioned in hushed voices, if at all. And having him trying to confront them about the obvious elephant in the room, and them being like, "Yeah, look, don't discuss it. We know it's not what it used to be. There's some things that we've learned to keep secret and for good reason." And at least that's what I could gather. I did miss out on some of the details.
Yeah, that's sort of the vibe I was trying to go for, except back a bit.
Yeah. On one hand, I kind of wish we could get the answer to what the heck is behind the door, but I imagine you're going to keep that mystery going for quite a while.
A bit, yeah, I might.
What's in the box? What's in the box?
It's literally, hey, Aaron, remember our dad's basement? Yeah. Wait in like 4 seasons or 3 seasons to find out what's in the friggin' basement, Aaron. Fucking Attack on Titan.
Wouldn't it be right if they found out only on the last page of the book?
Yeah. Yeah.
Now you're giving me awful ideas to actually pull that.
Yeah, don't like wait until like at the end of the book or something to pull off a major reveal, because for me personally, things like revealing the fact that, oh, Maria Luna, that is your sister Rosa, and the fact that Wasia's name is actually Rosa, I was initially holding that pretty close, like hiding that as much as I can and trying to skirt around it, but I'm like, no. If she comes across a situation where it is very apparent that she's going to figure out what her name is or that this character is her twin, just let it happen. So what I'm getting at is, if you ever get into a situation where the character is bound to figure out what's behind that door, you best let it happen, and you best make certain that whatever's behind that door was worth hiding.
Yeah.
Because mystery boxes are... Because the mystery box trope is horribly misunderstood. It isn't just simply that you keep the mystery and you string it along for as long as you can. It's the fact that it's there and that there's something inside of it that we don't know about yet that will revolutionize the plot, per se. That's the whole point.
It's like a hook, right?
Yes.
J.J. Abrams would like to disagree.
J.J. Abrams can go fuck off.
Yeah, he's a...
He made he made the Rise of Skywalker. He can go fuck right off.
Hey, I'm J.J. Abrams.
No, you're not, Valerian.
How dare you?
Valerian, very...
Go ahead, sorry.
Valerian, being completely blunt and honest, you are better looking than J.J. Abrams.
Oh, well, thank you.
Yeah. I'm sorry, but JJ has a very punchable face.
Like, I had hope for a series. Like, after watching The Force Awakens, like I was like, okay, there were some issues, yeah, here and there, but like, you know, I went there and I watched it. I was like, I'd taken some marijuana edibles, and I think that helped because like I was seeing it as like Luke was like kind of behind the scenes, like using the Force from like whatever planet he's retreated to like protect people and to like wake up the stormtroopers and stuff. I thought he was like really doing this stuff, and then you get to the end and he shows up. It's like maybe that's what was going on. It turns out no. It turns out Ryan Johnson is a Satanist.
Look, I'm gonna do some sign tapping really quickly. I felt ripped off after finishing The Force Awakens.
Yeah.
That's my sign tapping done.
Okay, fair.
Well,
I thought it was.
Anyway.
I thought it was fine. I watched it once and was like, oh, okay, cool.
Force
I
Awakens.
watched Last Jedi and I was kind of bored.
Okay, let's stop giving Discount A New Hope more attention than it deserves.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I knew something is wrong already during the title crawl.
Yeah, Valerian's smarter than any of us, I think.
In the words of J.J. Abrams, somehow Palpatine returned.
Oh god. Anyway.
Yeah. We've given it enough attention. Let's move on.
Yeah. So should I do my quick read now?
Sure, go for it.
But it doesn't have to be quick.
Well, I have to go on my walk.
Okay.
Let's see. So, all right. This is the serious one. Quick recap. The Emperor killed the parents of a couple of the protagonists. Wait, why am I in this one? Sorry. Couple of the protagonists. And so now we're dealing with the fallout from that. And here is meanwhile, so there's a conflict brewing between the protagonists and the Emperor, partly caused by that, or largely caused by that. So, and here we start with the sister of one of the protagonists and the Emperor. Okay, chapter 14. Exalted has brought this lowly servant close to paradise, said Tiyaku, in accordance with the etiquette of the Berusa, which always adopted the line that the emperor or other male, occasionally female, worthy had just done the Sarangi a sublime favor. Sarangi being a concubine. It was not even remotely true. Indeed, even a screaming nymphomaniac would have found being practically raped by this obese, sociopathic, halitotic, half-emasculated obscenity to be somewhat off-putting. But to say otherwise was to court death. Yes, I have, squealed the Emperor. I killed your father, too, because I wanted to. He wouldn't let me have your brother Barama, sorry. I'll do him and you and Margaret and a monkey at the same time. A keen observer might have seen Tiyaku's eyes flash at this point, but Emperor Aquequa was very far from being keen, and she hastened to lower her head before saying softly, "Exalted graces me abundantly. My father was a boor and a prude, and kept me back from joining the Barusa for a whole year when I was eager, longing for exalted embrace." This last was actually partly true. Tiako had indeed longed for what she imagined was the éclat of the Barusa, if not particularly for exalted embrace, in her younger days, mainly because her peers, who were more acclimatized to court ways, did. In those days, she and her friends fondly imagined it to be the center of everything that was fashionable and up-to-date. With what excitement had she entered it on that first day, so long ago as it seemed. Let's see. But the reality, it was an alien, sinister place to anyone raised in the relatively wholesome atmosphere of the castle of the Ambata. To make up for her provincialism, Tiako had adopted an exaggeratedly worldly manner, which fooled only the most naive, and did her best to conceal the fact that her baptism by fire in Aquequa IV's Barusa had been a shock, even a horror. The Barusa took up the entire 7th story and could only be reached either by secret passages or by trapdoors, through hidden stairways or sloping catwalks, several of which led from the imperial chambers on the 8th floor. If he chose, the emperor could descend thither on a ladder, or he could look below through a curtain while remaining unseen himself. The rooms and alcoves of the Barusa were arranged according to rank, and separated by doors, either locked or guarded by eunuchs, and curtains. On Tiaku's first day, traversing the secret passages that led to her alcove from the imperial antechamber and being silently admitted by the eunuchs had been an adventure, almost equal parts excitement and terror. The excitement had long since left her, and the terror had sunk to a dull nausea. The Barus was not without its attractions, containing lovely gardens and fountains, but even they were spoilt by Tiaku's memories of what had happened there. There were mirrors, paintings, tapestries, and bas-reliefs, many of them just this side of off-color. Aquequa had filled the entire palace with pornography, and as may well be imagined, the Barusa had the most disgusting pornography of all. Some desultory attempt had been made to make the pictures more in accord with the religious beliefs, but it had been awkward at best. Karat and pornography didn't mix. Tiaku soon found the Chuggan architecture of the Barusa oppressive, with its thick walls and narrow spaces that hemmed her in like a prison. It might have helped had there been more windows and less narrow. Nowadays, Tiaku had felt trapped there, most of all on days like this when Exalted deigned to favor her. "Give Exalted me wine now," squealed Exalted, soiling the couch with revolting bodily fluids. "Now!" "Exalted will is my joy," purred Tiaku. "I have had this wine specially mulled for Exalted." That was true enough. Tiaku stood and poured the wineskin down Exalted's throat, singing a gentle love song as she did so. Exalted coughed, then retched a bit. "This wine is beastly," he pouted. "I'm demoting you to Sarangi 10th class. You can't wear clothes anymore. I killed your father. Exalted honors this lowly servant far beyond her desert, fawned Tiaku, prostrating herself again. Exalted ignored her. Take me to Sarangi number 253 now, he told his servants, and fetch 6 shiny rats. The servants silently lifted him up onto his litter and bore him away to his next victims. Actually, Tiako got off lightly and only having to serve the emperor. Begone, old man, murmured Tiako under her breath. The sooner, the better. And that is that section of the chapter.
I definitely have great sympathy for this poor girl.
Yes.
This girl's life sucks.
Kind of, yeah, at the moment.
I was kind of left bewildered and confused. Yeah. I don't got anything more. I don't got anything to say.
So you're Balerian and confused?
Yes.
Oh dear. That's bad.
I think
Especially
part of it's lacking in context.
Especially the Balerian bit. Yeah, I mean the context. Some of the context is provided in this thing. He killed her father, and the reason was that her father wouldn't let
Yeah.
Be paramized.
Because I heard that bit. I'm like, who the fuck declares that shit aloud? I think I just might have blanked here and there. I might have missed some pretty vital information. I was like, okay. And then I heard a bit about the friggin' wine tasting like shit. And I'm like, and then hearing the friggin' demotion bit, it's like, you're not allowed to wear clothes anymore. And my brain's just like, what? What the fuck?
If you followed, you know what this. You remember that this emperor is
psycho.
I gathered as such.
He's an aging debauchee who's basically has some nasty disease and is basically revolting and obscene. He's obsessed with sex, but not even remotely sexy. He's almost as sexy as a dead weevil larva.
So basically me.
So he's...
That's rather cruel to yourself. I mean, you're bad, but you're not that bad.
So let's see if I can summarize what I just listened to. Basically, it's this poor girl who has to deal with this very revolting man who is impossibly lustful, and also serve dinner to him.
Well, she serves him some wine. I think the wine may be a plot point later.
Interesting.
But I'm trying not to have any spoilers.
No, don't worry too much about it.
Yeah, but there will be a hinted result of that wine later.
I got the sense that it was definitely I got the sense that it was poisoned from the significance that was paid to it.
And the fact that she mutters that stuff at the end too.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
I am sorry. My attention span is just kind of not there today.
Well, it seems like you got the gist of it.
Yeah.
Luckily, there weren't too many names this time. The last one I did, there were like globs of names. And
yeah.
I think my names are good, but at the same time, I think they're difficult when read aloud.
I can't even remember any of the names, so yeah, difficult when read aloud. That is definitely an accurate summarization.
Yeah, but they all have meanings, or else they have like cultural significance within the world. So they're not just random names. I think I've sometimes thought that I've often thought that at the end I should have a list of names though to help the reader along.
Okay.
Like some people do. Like I don't know if Tolkien has that. Tolkien is an index. So I don't know if he has a list of names as such.
I am planning on putting an appendix at the end of my story, but that's only just to list off all the references and how made in the story and how everything came to be. So, yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah, if you're writing a story that's heavy on world building, there's something to be said for including one or two appendices.
Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely.
Yeah. To help with the pronunciation, if nothing else.
Yeah, so definitely your story is extremely hefty on stuff like very interesting names. So
I could just name them all Joe, I suppose. That'd be kind of boring, though. Not to mention, it would totally ruin the world building. It'd be kind of boring, but I guess I could.
It'd
do
also
that.
be impossible to follow because everybody is named Joe.
Well, they'd be spelled differently.
that it would be interesting. The various.
Yes, that would be one hell of a creative writing challenge. Everybody is named Joe, but you need to distinguish them by spelling their names differently.
Yeah,
Good luck.
There was a Dr. Seuss poem about a lady who had 23 children and named them all Dave.
George Foreman I think he named all of his kids George.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I remember hearing that. Yeah.
And I thought the Alpha Legion was uncreative when it comes to picking their names.
Well, the Alpha Legion are stupid.
Who are the Alpha Legion?
No,
they are a bunch of chaos. They're a bunch of people,
they're
guys
Space Marines from Warhammer 40,000. They are allegiance, quote unquote, traitor, but nobody knows what the heck they are because they're super secretive. They do a bunch of infiltration and shit like that. And the joke is nobody knows whose side they're fighting on because all their plans are so convoluted that not even they know whose side they're fighting on anymore.
Yeah, that must be a riot.
It is. Also, all of them are named Alfarius.
I love it. I love the names.
Also, they're all named Alfarius. By the way.
That's literally part of their.
Alfarius.
That's literally part of their greeting. They literally go up to each other and say, "Hello, I am Alfarius."
I'm Alfarius too. Nice to meet you.
So anyway,
I think it's my turn.
I'm probably gonna have to miss most of it. Sorry.
That's okay.
all right, I'm gonna actually try to keep. I'm actually going to try to stem my ADHD a little bit.
Yeah, that's my problem. It's like I'm listening and then like, oh, there's like somebody messaged me on this thing. Oh, there's another message. So
Well, I'm not gonna lie. I'm usually doing things while listening too, so I may not hear every detail either.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Carry on, Lord Captain Commander Dunn.
I'll have to catch up later. Okay. So Naito, I'll catch up later.
All right, so let's start. To summarize, we are in page 94 of a 149-page single-space book. Basically, all that has happened is the kingdom has been thoroughly usurped by the psychotic daughter of the previous monarch, and now she is trying to build a canal that's with her sister as the main architect. During this time, the daughter of the brother who's been basically exiled is now hiding in the far north and is preparing for the time where she will eventually go to try to challenge her aunt. And while this is happening, the elves have their leader has had a vision of the fact that this canal will be used to destroy the elves at some point. So they're trying to prevent its construction. So that's the context that you need to know. Let's get started. Chapter 18, The Battle of the Canal. Move faster, Persephone. Gagul growled as she swung her practice sword at Persephone. Grunting, Persephone dodged back, but still got a glancing blow on her side. The thing too, if Persephone had taken a direct hit from Gagul, the big she-orc would have cracked her ribs. Not wanting to lose momentum, she slashed wildly with her own weapon. Contemptuously, Gagul grabbed Persephone's arm, then pushed her to the ground. You're not anticipating me. Gagul shook her head, then pulled Persephone to her feet. You're hitting without strategy or understanding of your strength. I'm trying. Persephone grunted as Gagul released her hand. Shaking her head, Gagul tapped on Persephone's forehead with a meaty finger. You need to learn to think faster when you fight, she remonstrated. You cannot just take a hit like that, even in armor. You're too valuable. I made a mistake. I won't do it again. Persephone rubbed her side where she'd been hit, then walked over to the bench. With a tired groan, she slumped onto the seat, placing the sword on the bench next to her. Gagul had chastised her when she tossed the weapon on the rack after a hard day. Never toss your damn sword, girl. The orc's roar still rang in her ears. Treat your blade with respect. Even if you are tired, battered, or filthy, always clean your sword. Wincing, Persephone started rubbing her sore hands. She could feel blisters forming on her palms. From all the sword practice, they'd become calluses at this rate. Why are you doing all this practice when you have a dragon? Gagul put her hands on her hips. Once Cerberus get big, it's large enough, you can destroy any army on your own. You need to be a queen, Persephone said flatly. I can't be one if I don't work hard. Fair, but a queen is more than a sword, Persephone. Gagul rubbed the bridge of her nose between her thumb and forefinger. She is her mind, her words, her eloquence. We're going to be at war once we're ready. Persephone looked down at her practice sword, then picked it up and rested it across her knees. We're all that's left, Gagul. It's up to us. It's up to me. Then get up, girl. Gagul flicked her sword out to swat Persephone's arm, causing her to flinch. Today, we push as hard as we can. Chimera received Shard's letter at dawn. Eagerly, she tore open the letter, scanning the message as fast as she could. My friend, I will start with the best news. The canal is going well. The blasting powder and the mammoth plow has allowed us to make astonishing progress. We will soon be able to connect the river to the far north and then the rest of the empire. However, we have encountered an unforeseen complication. It appears as though the elves have set it themselves against us. They have sent bandit attacks to slow us, but I suspect these are only feints to learn our strength. So far, we have held back our greatest weapons and effective tactics for the correct time, but I believe they are planning on attacking us with their full strength. including whatever dragons they might have. Send reinforcements soon so that we can better defend your interest. That initial part pleased her greatly, but the second half stoked her rage. Damned elves, she cursed, crumpling the message and tossing it onto the stack of letters that had been piling up on her desk. She needed some sort of secretary to deal with all this paper dribble. You'll have to wait, she thought. Posture stiff, she stalked through the halls until she found a couple of messengers. Send word to Rune and Numenor to send their armies and their dragons north. The canal is being threatened by the elves. I want another message to the local orc garrison in the mountains and around the capital. They need to march north with all speed. Orisa approached the large mountain range that made up the fortified valley of the dwarves. She'd prepared everything, but this was one thing she could do to solidify her victory. The dwarves. The vision had come clear as glass only a few nights ago. It had instructed her to play on their own fears about the Dragonlords coming north to seize their treasures, as the dragons had often done before they built up their defenses against the beasts. Perion and Neria had visited the Ironfort a long time ago, but that visit had been cut short by the death of the future queen's brothers. Ever since there hadn't been much interaction between the dwarves beyond the occasional loan for the kingdoms that had been split during the First Dragonstrife. Odin Whitehand had paid off the debt to the dwarves after gaining access to the Usipa mines of Parthia, though it had taken a long time to build up enough tribute to pay it all up at once. Now that the dwarves had expanded from the mountains to a large valley enclosed within the mountains, a sprawling city spanned from edge to edge, though likely there were caverns going down and large structures ascending toward the sky. In the middle was an enormous fortress of Gundathor, a repurposed mountain in the center of the city. She landed on one of the large peaks, Isiphan's silver wing membranes folding so he could grasp onto the sides of the spires. A group of dwarves came out of a concealed artillery hole in the mountain, spears lowered. "What business do you have here, elf?" one of them asked. "I wish to speak with your king regarding a danger to his kingdom," Orisa said calmly. "The Dragonlord are planning to move north by building a canal that will transport troops north to conquer you, just as they did Satharis and Parthia." The lead dwarf frowned, then nodded. "Send word to the king," he said. "He'll want to hear this." Within the hour, Isiphan landed outside the massive dwarven citadel, the huge gates sliding to the sides. Such incredible craftsmanship. Orisa dismounted and stroked her old friend under the chin. Glazed eyes staring sightlessly, Isiphan growled low in his chest, then settled down. Taking a deep breath, Orisa waited as the delegation of heavily bearded dwarves, all bearing axes and other fine weapons, their geometric armor matching the architecture of their buildings as they approached. "You had best talk swiftly, elf," the lead dwarf, Prince Bor, remarked. "We invested significant amounts of money keeping the Dragonlords occupied in Satharis, only to have those bastards wipe the entire place clean." "The issue has become dire," Orisa inclined her head. "The Dragonlords have begun construction on a canal that will bring troops and siege weapons north to your city. If we do not destroy it now, or at the very least seize control of it, then we will be consumed by the avarice of whatever tyrant wishes to bathe the world in dragon flame. They will take your treasure, slay your people, and seize your mountains for their own, as the dragons of old did." Mutters began spreading through the dwarves in their own tongue, but Orisa could make out mutters of dragon fire and keeping their own safe. Other such xenophobic dwarven rhetoric. "What would you have us do?" Prince Bor remarked, narrowing his eyes and stroking his beard. "Help me by committing a few of your troops to this battle," Orisa pleaded. "Or at the very least, help me in my struggle against them. You know that they are coming for you soon. It's only a matter of time." Bor glared at her for a moment, then nodded. What do you want? A large number of Althean horsemen arrived within a fortnight to the camp, although there had been a few bandit attacks during that time. Camria had remained in Althea, Alethea to maintain the defenses, but that had already been factored into Shard's plans. Hopefully the enemy wouldn't discover his ruse. Narrowing his eyes, he walked over to the wide plains, the great wood far in the distance. If the elves were going to attack, it would be from that direction. He'd sent out scouts in all directions, sweeping the countryside for any signs of bandits or elves. Anytime a group or a single member of the scouts didn't return in time, Shard sent out a large group of riders in the direction that the scout had gone in. That had only been necessary twice. The first had been a scout having to reshoe his horse. The other had been bandits who had killed the rider, but the other riders had quickly returned. That had given Shard time to sweep up the rabble. How long do you think before the enemy attacks? Irini asked, her armor clinking as she walked up to him. She had her pump-action crossbow on her back, a quiver of bolts on her hip within each reach of her hand. Soon, Shard said calmly, fingers itching as he stroked Dark Fate's hilt. Somewhere out there was an enemy army, and he had to make a choice as to where he should put his army. The enemy has two choices. He folded his arms. However, I'm fairly sure they know which one they'll do. I assume either split or attack us in one force, Irini inferred, adjusting her gloves. Indeed, Shard nodded to the forest in the distance. For certain they're originally from that direction, but whether they're going to attack from that direction is unclear, and we have another issue to consider. What if they're simply attacking the work we've done where the locks are? Irini blanched. That would be the wisest choice, she admitted. They can simply prolong this by attacking our rear, and we would have to go up and down to try and keep up with them. I've already sent riders with ravens and pigeons north or south. Shard tapped his fingers against his elbow, the iron-backed tips clinking against the opposite bracer. We'll have some warning at least, but would take days for them to destroy the locks. Unless they have a dragon, Shard said quietly. That caused Irini to go quiet. Do you think... Not yet. Shard took a deep breath. If the enemy sends out dragons, then we will use your weapons. Very well. Best not to alert them. If they know what we have, then they will surely attack us with everything they have. Irini nodded. We wait then. Shard nodded toward the advancing mimics. I'm putting the cavalry in the front and splitting the infantry to guard both sides of the trench. But as we go, we'll keep large boards to allow quick access across both sides. Ursa looked down at the enemy from above, satisfied that she knew their full strength. They had been tested, her army was in place, and it was time to complete what she'd started 70 years ago. Now was the time to strike. Narrowing her eyes, she pulled out the eagle and nodded to her General Nablan. Below them, a legion of elves in full armor waited on the outskirts of the forest, half mounted, half on foot, arranged in perfect segmented ranks. Your orders, my lady? He asked, his round jelly face and sparse ginger beard making him an abnormality among the elves. Orisa closed her fist, gazing balefully at her hated enemy. Kill them all, she hissed. At the sounds of thundering hooves and elven horns, Shard awoke in the middle of the night, already wearing his armor. He rushed out of his tent and leaped onto Wolfheart's back. The gray warhorse stamped his hoof and reared as Shard gripped the reins and spurred him forward. The enemy had arranged themselves in a very different formation than what he was used to facing on the field. The enemy had arranged their cavalry in a line in front of the infantry, obscuring most of what was behind them. However, Shard had studied several battles where the elves were engaged, and he knew how they would deploy their horses, at least if they were keeping the same strategies. Horse archers just harass the infantry in the flanks, he thought, as the enemy charged, draw us in where the archers are waiting, and then start picking us off while the cavalry switches to lances. Then the infantry comes in with spears and blades. Cavalry, guard the flanks, he yelled, riding up the line. The enemy is here! Archers ready! Irini yelled, riding her own black mare to the bowmen. Get ready to stuff it at the enemy cavalry, then retreat through the pikes. The York pikemen formed a phalanx with the Elintian, Althean, and Numenorian cavalry in the flanks, horse archers on the farthest ends of the formation. Shard took his place with his horsemen and grabbed a long lance. "Do not engage the enemy head on," Shard called. "Move the infantry forward. I want the enemy forced into the pikes." The message quickly rushed through the ranks, the orc archers and human crossbowmen moving to the front and raising their weapons. The orcs and humans were carefully segmented into a checkerboard of alternating squares. Each unit is surrounded and peppered by shield bearers to defend against enemy archers. The crossbowmen could rotate ranks to keep up a continuous line of fire without getting in the way of the orc longbowmen. Irene raised her crossbow and prepared to loose as Shard raised his horn to his lips and blew a single note. The enemy cavalry got within bowshot. Without hesitating, the orc archers gauged the distance and loosed a series of volleys, the back rows releasing their arrows first, then reloading as the front ranks fired. The crossbows were slightly slower, but their bolts struck hard, and the humans were easily able to reload the new crossbows when before it would take an orc's strength to quickly reload the weapons. The elven horsemen swerved in unison, bows rising to loose their own volley at the archers, but the orcs quickly raised their shields to form turtle formations over the front and top of the archers. Rapidly, the distance between the two sides began diminishing, the elven horses falling with arrows through their heads or taking several arrows to the neck and chest, causing them to fall, but there were too many of them. Eyes narrowing, Shard put his horn to his lips and blew 3 times. As one, the pikes parted to allow the archers to move back through their ranks. Growling, the orcs lowered their pikes, some to the horsemen, some at others at a slight angle. The enemy tried to swerve, but right as the enemy started to split, Shard's cavalry rushed in from the sides, the horse archers loosing volley after volley as the lancers smashed into the elves. A brutal melee ensued, arrows falling in the center of the elves as they were quickly hemmed in from either side by Shard's cavalry as the pikes moved in. "Shields!" One of the captains cried as arrows flew over the cavalry and started falling among the pikes and the soldiers behind. The elves were now in range. Shard himself was out of their range, mostly because he was near the back, directing the army with horn blast. If only I had the mythical seeing stones in my hand, he thought, stroking his sword hilt. I could survey this whole area, but Aemon destroyed them, and nobody knows where the shards are. How convenient. The arrow barrage kept on falling among the orcs and humans, overmatching any ranged weapons the humans had, and with more accuracy. It seemed as though they were able to pinpoint their targets and hit them, even amongst the massive swirling horses in the upraised pike wall. Shard thought as the Althean cavalry began retreating to allow the pikes and archers to start bloodying the ground. The enemy cavalry broke and ran back to their own lines, most of them dismounting, either drawing spears, swords, or bows. This is not good, Shard thought as the elves began bunching together. This enemy would rapidly turn. The enemy would likely turn this into an infantry battle, using their spears to keep the Althean cavalry from doing any damage to them, and they would use their longer range bows to pick them off from a distance. And they were holding firm out of sight of the range of the orcs and humans' weapons. We're going to need to close the gap. We're going to need to do so quickly. "What are your orders, my lord?" one of the soldiers asked, riding up to him. Shard didn't answer. He was too engrossed figuring out what exactly he could do to defeat the enemy. Only fools gamble their lives and the lives of their men on a wild charge, his father had told him. A real commander stays behind and directs his troops. Breathing out hard, Shard drew his sword and raised it to his face. The black blade seemed to hum in his hand as if eager to be bathed in blood. "Prepare to charge." "Charge, sir?" one of the men asked, clearly baffled by the order. "Prepare to charge," Shard repeated coldly. "The enemy has decided to remain outside of our reach to prevent us from counterattacking. We shall close the distance, but not before they've been softened." He nodded to one of his officers. "Blow the horns, give the signal, but wait until after we've begun to advance." The man nodded in agreement, and rushed away. Shard looked down at his blade, his eyes trailing over the weapon. Dark fate shimmered in his hand with her usual midnight beauty, the blade and hilt as sable as moleskin. "I've never bathed this weapon in elven blood," he thought. It might be the first time that one of the ancient blades has been dyed in elven ichor. Strangely, the idea appealed to him. Sound the advance. Now. Arissa nodded, narrowed her eyes as she watched the humans and orcs line begin to advance. The enemy cavalry sweeping forward and loosing arrows at her people from a distance to act as a screen for the enemy infantry rapidly advancing toward them. At the head of the cavalry was Shard, Chimera's dark-haired fist charging toward them. Silvery helm carved with wolves, the black blade of dark fate in his gauntleted fist. Abruptly, a vision flashed through her mind, just like the vision of Hera at the Battle of the Seven Suns. She saw a wolf become a lion, then the lion fell, pierced by a sword. Then pierced by a dagger. Then from the blood of the lion came a massive black dragon. Spreading his wings, the dragon bellowed and blasted the trees with flames, elves fleeing from his fiery wrath. "Kill that man," she whispered, pointing at Shard. Nablin gave her a strange look. "What, my lady?" "Kill that man!" she shrieked, waving frantically at Shard. "Kill the fist!" Right as she screamed out, a horn blow sounded across the battlefields, followed by a pair of roars. "Those sneaky bastards," Arissa thought as the two massive tents she'd never been able to get near. Air collapsed. Abs like a conjurer's box, repealing a pair of middle-sized dragons. Calypso and Andromedar spread their wings and shot into the air, the first a blue and gold dragon, the other a bronze dragon with silver highlights. Bellowing, the two dragons flew out over the human cavalry and blasted the front ranks of the elves with their fiery breath. So Chimera's daughters Danae and Telemara were here with their dragons the whole time. Arissa had to admit that was quite the plan. Instead of unleashing the dragons to deal with the bandits, they'd kept them in reserve, hidden until now. There was nothing for it. Sisyphan growled as Arissa urged him into the sky to meet the other two dragons. At least it was nighttime, so they'd have to come up with a better name than the Battle of the Seven Suns. Shard crashed into the now weakened elven ranks with his cavalry right as the orcs formed up their wedge shape and started pushing into the enemy line. Horses fell or tripped over the fallen elves or other obstacles. Several elves bunched together and tried to form a defensive line, but Andromedar blasted them with fire, creating a gap that the horsemen could force their mounts through the flames. Fire filled Shard's vision, lighting the battlefield with a hellish red light glow as he drove his horse deeper into the elven ranks. As he did, Shard slashed and hacked at anything that came near him with dark fate. Blood fountained where the sword struck the throats and faces of the enemy, and sometimes hands gushing bright red liquid in all directions. The sound of battle screamed in his ears as Shard rode through the battlefield. The ranks rapidly devolving into chaos as the formation started to fracture into individual fights on the edges as the orcs and humans began breaking them up into smaller chunks. Abruptly, Wolfhard stumbled, causing Shard to miss one of his strikes, allowing two elves to dart in and drive their spears into the horse's side. Screaming, Shard's horse fell, bleeding from the stab wounds. Not thinking, Shard leaped from the saddle and rolled, coming up with his blade in his hand as the two spear elves came at him with their swords extended. Face still, Shard grabbed one of the shafts of his stab at his face, then brought his sword down on the weapon's shaft just as under his hand before spinning out of the way of the second spear, still holding the tip and the shaft that he'd cut free. Before the now spearless elf could draw the sword at his side, Shard rushed him and drove the tip of the elf's own spear into his face. Gurgling, the elf fell to the ground, only a few inches of steel bared. The other elf dropped his spear and drew his sword, but Shard smacked it aside and stabbed him through the throat, dark fate's blade sliding through his chainmail and flesh with equal ease. "Kill the fist!" The yell came up from the elves as they started to swarm toward him, trying to press themselves against the orcs who had rushed up to protect the Shard. For a moment, Shard was surprised that they were focused on him, but the thought flashed through his mind that he was the commander on the ground. The dragons might be deadly animals, but the fact that they were so high up in the air made it so that their riders couldn't direct the troops. Well, if they wish to kill me, then I'll let them throw. Well, if you wish to kill me, then I'll let you throw yourself, elves, onto my blade. Shard bared his teeth and rushed into the flare. A wild joy-filled Shard, right as he cut through the elves, each one a surprisingly skilled opponent. The challenge excited Shard, his blood pumping in his ears as elven ichor sprayed the air. And that will be all for today.
Well, damn. That was a lot.
Mhm.
There was just generally a whole lot to cover in that one. First of all, goddamn filthy stinking elves, of course.
Mhm.
They side with a psychomaniac because they're the goddamn elves.
Mhm.
Second, orcs are being based. Nice. Third, the dwarves not trusting the elves. Based. Third, this guy holding a sword that yearns to be bathed in the blood of his enemies, specifically elves. First of all, Metal Gear Solid reference. Third, based. Super freaking goddamn based. Slaughtered those stupid knife-eared, pointy-eared, pampered motherfuckers. Anyway, all that fun bit aside, pretty nice description. Very well thought. It's like, I don't know what more to say. There's actual thought that went into the battle tactics and strategy over here. It was a pretty neat battle sequence. It was just pure raw carnage in tactics, all being implemented, and there's also some different mindsets going into it between all the commanding officers on the field, and I don't know what the heck the fist is or what it's supposed to be referring to. I'm assuming it's a character's title, but yeah, damn. Also, you did a very good job portraying the crazy evil aunt as a crazy evil aunt.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know what more to say. It was pretty solid all around. Although I do have a question. Is this supposed to be like, because you said you used the word Numenorian, and I'm like,
Numenor. It's spelled slightly different.
Because when I hear that, I'm like, oh, that's Tolkien though. That's like Lord of the Rings stuff.
It's a reference. It's not really it's not an island race. It's basically, the initial idea was basically, what if Gondor became an imperialist power and then a destroyed everything else?
Still probably a better story than Rings of Power.
There's also that this is like book 5 in a long running series. And it's basically just a small section of a larger empire.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
The other ones are Sitharis, Parthia, Rune I took from Tolkien. That's one of the things I like writing. I really like writing action scenes.
Yeah, I mean, I just finished writing an action sequence just today. Like, I basically redid the whole choreography in the fight between Rosa and Angela when Rosa decides to actually see how far she's come by challenging Angela. And yeah, I just like, it was frustrating at first because I'm like, okay, how the heck do I do this? And I thought, you know what, screw it, I'm going to stop trying it the fancy way. I'm just going to draft out a rough idea of which powers they use, how they maneuver the battlefield, and how the narrative of the fight goes from start to finish. And I'm like, okay, bingo, let's go. Put on the only thing I know for real, and let's just write this shit out. So yeah, battle sequences can be pretty fun. Now, I do have some more thoughts if you'd like to hear them.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so world building, nice. Everybody hating on the elves again, nice. I'm gonna stop making a joke now. Let's see. the fact that there's alliances being drafted up because there's this huge war going on, and dragons are pretty powerful, and whoever has the dragons is going to be extremely scary. I do like that the dwarves built their own defenses and fortifications to protect against the dragons, so they can get them to stop stealing their goddamn gold. I also like that the advancement, that there's an advancement of technology in there, a progression. Yes, these bows that usually took an orc to fire, now a human can do it just as easily. I'm like, nice, that's pretty cool. The plot progression is, this is a culmination chapter. This is everything going in to one big smashing event that's likely the climax of the narrative. Pretty nice. Characterization.
So this is actually the 2/3 mark.
Oh, okay. So I think I might have nailed it. I'll let you tell me that later. Characterization. Pretty solid. I don't know the characters very well because I'm missing a boatload of context, but it's pretty distinct. It's pretty noticeable.
Thank you.
No problem. I actually had something to occupy the rest of me while I was listening this time around. So, yeah, I was able to. I managed to pay way more attention this time.
Yeah, one of the things that I tried to do with this was, I very carefully drafted out the battle plan for how I was going to make this battle go, especially with, I knew that I wanted to kind of carefully keep the tactics as realistic as I could, as well as use real world tactics. One of the things that I actually used was a Byzantine tactic. What they would do would be, once one of their line would be that any time they had archers, they would, anytime that the enemy got close, they would move the archers back, and then they would put the orcs, their pikemen and infantry in front. Another thing that I tried to use was the Macedonian phalanx idea, where there's a forest of spears going forward, but then the back rows actually raise their spears at a 90-degree angle in order to deflect arrow fire.
Yeah, looking at how long their freaking spears were, I can easily imagine that would have been viable.
Yeah.
Anyway, I would love to stick on for a little bit longer, but also I have shit I need to be taking care of. I actually need to head out, unfortunately.
Okay. That's okay.
All right, good to see you, man. Is my mic still on?
Yeah, your mic's still on. Right. So, is there any other thoughts before we conclude?
Yeah. No, I found your action scenes were great as well. I'm having trouble following a little bit, but
see you guys. I'm going.
Right,
see you.
I'm having a little trouble following it, but I did find your action scenes. I had a very clear sense of what was going on, and that's sadly all I got for you. I wish I had more, but
that's fine. Yeah, totally okay.
All right. Well, thanks for doing this as always, Done. Take care.
Of course.
All right.
All right,
guys. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye.